Everyone. Welcome to the Humanitarian Heartbeat podcast. I am so excited to not only start this, but to have my first guest who is my friend, my love, my coworker, and everything in between. I'm going to read her bio. It's driven by a deep commitment to guide, educate, and advocate for every patient, irrespective of race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender, financial status, and more. Leading the charge as the LGBTQ plus advocacy directors at the Byrd Cancer Education and Advocacy Foundation, Kate Buculo, she, her, RNBSN. Oh, y'all, she got education. She know what she's talking about. Kate Buculo, a graduate of Widener University School of Nursing, brings her expertise as a radiation oncology nurse to the forefront. Her life's passion is advocating for and seamlessly connecting the care of individuals battling cancer. Y'all, she's amazing. It is her mission to provide diverse resources to LGBTQ plus individuals, recognizing the historical discrimination within healthcare that has jeopardized lives through delays and denial necessary care. Kate, as a member of this phenomenal LGBTQ community, is acutely aware of the stigmas impacting access to healthcare. In response, my beautiful friend Kate is dedicated to combating discrimination. She is committed to creating a welcoming and inclusive environment, pledging to advocate and provide essential resources to ensure equal access to medical care. Well, Kate, who are you?
I'm just Kate.
It's so funny. The first time I met you, have always been so chipper and bubbly. And y'all, I said, is this real? Because I didn't know if it was real. I thought it was a front. But you are always so chipper and bubbly. My first question to you is, who do you say you are?
Well, I just say I'm just Kate. So I think there's a lot of perspectives to me. Like, I am a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm an aunt, I am a friend, and I'm an advocate. And all of those things make me who I am. But I'm just Kate.
You're amazing. Not just Kate, you're amazing. What led you to become the LGBTQ plus advocacy director at the Byrd Cancer and Education and Advocacy Foundation?
Well, background. One of the things that my father has kind of drilled in all of us is the one thing that you do is you fight for what you believe in. And you don't just sit back, you fight for it. So when you asked me to be a part of the Byrd Foundation, there was no question in my mind. There is so many things where, well, as a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, I see firsthand the detriment and the stigmas that coincide with being a part of this community. Not only as a lesbian woman, but as my wife being non-binary, she goes by she, her, they, them. And there is stigmas from day to day, and you have to be able to find groups that are inclusive, healthcare that is inclusive, to where somebody feels comfortable in one of the most vulnerable places in times in their life.
Mm-hmm. What stigmas have you seen?
So, one thing in nursing, right, that you're taught immediately is check your bias at the door. Sometimes you working in healthcare, right? Sometimes that doesn't happen.
Okay.
It doesn't happen. Someone's biases is not checked at the door. So say if somebody is trans, and if those biases aren't checked, they feel it. They feel it. Or someone who doesn't agree with someone's lifestyle, per se, as someone could say, then someone feels that bias. So, like, for example, say someone isn't addressing somebody by a pronoun that they would prefer. That's discriminatory. That is not being inclusive by any means. Not, things of that nature. So those are some stigmas that I've seen, but it's mainly just, it's important to check a bias at the door, especially when you're in a healthcare setting. You are taught is that you treat every single person the same, and that's how it should be,
Is there
equally.
exactly? Is there some sort of education that needs to be implemented in the healthcare system for those who may have difficulty checking their biases at the door?
Absolutely, absolutely. um I think that that's the problem, is a lack of education. When when someone doesn't understand something, it just creates an ignorance. So, and I think that in the healthcare setting, there needs to be education there. There needs to be education in schools. There should be education everywhere to figure out, hey, like, this is the reason why. This, just because it doesn't mimic what your household looks like or mimic who you are, doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that you need to understand it a little bit more. So education definitely needs to happen.
That's deep. And what would you say to those? Because you said, I mean, I agree with you, it should be everywhere. But to those who may say, well, I don't think it should be everywhere, why should it, in your opinion, why should it be everywhere?
I think the question should be, why should it not? Why should it not? If you, I think that if someone, if it, holistically,
Mhm.
we need to have more inclusivity everywhere. And no person should ever feel uncomfortable in the healthcare setting, ever, ever. They should only feel comfortable. So if there should be no pushback. There shouldn't be. There should be, okay, well, how can I make that better? If I'm making somebody uncomfortable, if I'm making someone feel like they are not comfortable in a room, how can I make that better? That's what the conversation should be. It should never say, well, I don't agree with that. Well, if you don't agree with it, ask a question and figure out, if you don't understand something, ask a question. Because that is what's most important. Asking those questions. If you don't understand something, please ask. There is never ever, for myself personally, if someone was to ever ask me,
Yeah,
hey, well, what does this mean?
yeah,
What does, it was always an open conversation.
right.
There's never a harm in asking a question.
You're amazing. You're right. It's that simple. It's that
Hmm.
simple. How do you ensure that LGBTQIA plus individuals receive necessary care and resources that they need while battling cancer?
So we act as bridges for communication. So if someone is finding an uninclusive and they're having a hard time with physicians, with healthcare organizations, we act as that bridge to bridge that gap, to be like, okay, well, if you're having a hard time and if you don't feel comfortable, let's find that for you.
Mhm.
It's making sure that they have adequate resources to find what they need. So that's what we do as a foundation. We are bridges.
Mhm.
It's
That sounds so like poetic. So I like that.
like it's like the oh gosh, the bridge of the rainbow, trying to find a pot of gold. We're finding that pot of gold.
So you telling me we the bridge and the rainbows above?
That's what I'm saying.
Are you also telling me we need to change the logo? Is that what you're telling
Yeah, 100%. Bridge, rainbow, gold, and a butterfly.
me? I
Oh
love
no.
that. I love that. My question is, and I just keep like, you're so amazing. And this question just popped into my head. What if in your day to day in the foundation, just being you, a person who was born a male but identifies as a female,
Mhm.
and she is now having issues with her prostate.
Mhm.
How does she go about inquiring about what's going on? Especially if she may feel like I don't identify with this body part that I have going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How can she sort of go through the medical system to figure out what it may be going on with her prostate that she may not identify with?
So are you saying, so with like how she would go through and be like, okay, this is the testing I need?
Yeah.
Well, one,
Yeah.
patient advocates can really help with that.
Mhm.
And just to make sure that they have their pronouns,
Mhm.
they're not using their dead names. Those
And
things
their
need to
dead
be.
names?
Mhm.
Okay.
So we don't want to use their dead names. We want to use adequate their pronouns that they go by, and it making sure that they are comfortable with their provider when they go to the urologist, right? So if it's a prostate, they would have to go to a urologist to get that checked out, right?
Mhm.
And then from there, it's just making sure that everything is given them to provide and provided them for to be in an inclusive environment.
Mhm.
So it's mainly just making sure that they are comfortable. They have their like name that they would like to use, that the office is given all of the information so they can provide them with the utmost and best care.
I love that. I
I don't
even
know if I'm answering that
no,
like fully.
no, that you're saying that they should inquire help, but that the medical team, the urology team, for the example, should be inclusive enough and accepting enough to know that yes, she was born with a prostate, but she does not identify with that. And
Yeah.
so I guess my question, which you did answer, but I guess my question is just being the patient herself, how do you even want to seek help for a potential prostate issue because you don't identify as having a prostate? You see what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. I get
How do
what you're
you
saying.
how do you teach a community like, yes, we accept the way that you want to identify, but there may be
Okay.
certain um born uh parts.
I get what you're
You know what I
saying.
mean? So
I get what you're saying.
and I don't want anybody from the community to be like, well, I don't want to seek help because I don't even know how to ask the question. And then when I get there, they may, be discriminatory. So how do you push through that?
So, one, if anybody is ever having hard time when it comes to that, I think counseling and counseling is always important, and seeking that mental health help when they're going through something that is traumatic, right? And for I get what you're saying. I understand that now. So, wanting to make sure that they feel comfortable
Mhm,
the entire time.
mhm,
But I think it's always important to know what screening that you need for your body is important.
mhm,
So no matter what it is, you need to screen certain things to make sure that there isn't anything going on. So I think that honestly does come down to one, having places that make you feel comfortable enough to where you have an okay rapport,
mhm,
so you don't feel uncomfortable with any of those situations. But it's really important when you are going through those trials and tribulations that you have mental health help along with that as well.
mhm.
So to not struggle in silence, not ignore something, but and making sure that you have somewhere where you're comfortable with. And I think that's exactly what we do. So if someone was to go through something like that, it's just having a place where it takes one person to make you feel comfortable. It takes one person to be like, I am safe. So if we, if as with our foundation, right, if we can be that safety for one person. Okay, if you're having that problem, come to us and we give you an advocate. We'll give you those things that you need.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't want to say those things, there's people who will say those things.
Oh, we'll speak up. You will speak up.
That's what I'm saying.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Let's see. You already, because my next question was, can you share any examples of discrimination? But you've already shared that. And I'll say I have family members who are all up in that community, and I love it. And the only thing that was hard for me, and it wasn't even hard, was when it comes to grammar. And when a friend goes by they, them, and it was so hard for me to not say he, she, because that's not grammatically correct, and say they.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, and I never want to be disrespectful, how do I sort of change my brain, to not just automatically say like the singular, but the plural, you know what I mean? Because I never want to be respectful. So how can I or the community just make sure that you get it right?
So this is what I do. I would say, hey Nia, what's your pronouns?
Mm-hmm.
And then you would tell me. I'll go by
she, her.
Mm-hmm. And then I would say, oh, and then that's how I would alter that. So even so with my wife, right? I always want to make sure that she is respected, but she is comfortable with she, her. Mm-hmm. But do I also speak in the they, them as well? Yes, because that's what she is comfortable with. Mm-hmm. So it is more of like I think it's always like, hi, my name is this. What's your name? Okay, and what is your pronoun? Okay. When you change your mind and you're like kind of change the way that you even greet somebody, and that way it can be like you are giving respect to somebody. Mm-hmm. I think that's the most important part.
Absolutely. I even think of like just my Southern background. You come from you're from the South too, and we're so quick to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes sir, no sir. And I'm like, yes. I didn't meet. It's not a bias. It's just I grew up by saying you say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, no sir. How do you even teach the younger children? So, and that's what I meant, like grammatically. So we teach like singular and plural. How do you teach a young child that there's certain like written things that have to be singular, plural, but when you speak to a person and you ask them their pronouns, that what we learn that is plural needs to not be.
Yeah. I think it's
in the sentence,
Yeah. I think it's more or less just like you just replace you just replace it. It's more like it's just it's the same thing where it's like, when like one thing I always do is I'll say like, oh, miss so and so, because it's a respect thing. And so in the same way, when you are when you were using somebody's pronoun, you are respecting them, you are giving them respect. So I think that is a way that a young child can be taught with, hey, you can respect somebody by calling them their preferred pronouns. So it's easy as pie.
You should just replace it. Okay. And you made me think of that. Sometimes we, just as a culture, as a community, we make things too difficult.
Yes, absolutely. It's not a big, it's literally like, would you call me Mrs. Buculo? Yes, because I am married and I am go by she, her. You do that out of respect. You call, and it's just respecting a person and calling them a specific pronoun because that's what they would like. And I want to respect somebody. I don't want to disrespect anybody.
Yeah. And it goes back to, once again, so we're out of the hospital setting where everybody has to be comfortable. And somebody says, I don't believe that. How sort of can we go back to kindness?
Exactly.
What's that conversation like? Okay, you may not believe it, but what does that look like?
I think you may not agree with it, you may not believe it, but you can have respect
Mm-hmm.
for a human being. And it doesn't have to be an argument. It's just
Mm-hmm.
you can have respect for another human being. If that's what their preferred pronouns are,
Do it.
you can respect somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be this big elaborate conversation to where it's like this is the it just I have respect, have kindness, and have grace for somebody. It's easy to see something that's in front of your face, but try to put yourself into somebody else's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is the most important part.
Mm-hmm.
Empathy. Have
Mm-hmm.
some empathy and have compassion for another individual,
Mm-hmm.
because that's all it's about. Just having some compassion, give somebody grace and respect them. And just call them by their preferred pronoun. Call them by the name that they would like, not their dead name, because that's something that is gone for them. So I think it's just important to just show somebody kindness.
Mm-hmm. Once again, you said it's not hard. You said we don't have to have an elaborate. You said we don't have to talk for an hour. You literally said we can talk for a minute.
Yeah.
It's
It's literally, it's like, hi, how are you doing? What is your pronoun? Easy as pie.
oh, that was 5 seconds.
Yep. That's 5 seconds right there.
How do you then? I just feel like you're solving the world's problems. How do you then talk to a parent who
Oh.
may, she said, oh,
Mm.
because yes, kindness and empathy, but how do you talk to a parent who may say, I may not understand, I'm confused, did I do something wrong? Well, obviously, no, there's nothing wrong.
No.
How do you talk to
So
parents?
I think it's hard. Um, because it kind of brings you to when you came out, you know?
Mm,
So like when personally when I came out, right? That is hard for a parent to wrap their mind around, because they have their own idealization of how you are going to grow up. Like they have your life planned out in their head already from the time you're a baby. So I think that, I mean, this is my own specific, background, but having those conversations, I was very like, nope, this is what it is. And this is like, you're just going to have to deal with it.
mhm.
I know it sounds terrible, but it was
No.
just like, it's like, this is the way it is. You're going to have to deal with whatever emotions that you are. And I will say it just takes time. Well, my own perspective. Now, everyone is different and everyone has different parents. But I am lucky that eventually, like, there with education and with time, became like my mom loves my wife so much. It's like
Mhm.
insane. But like it just takes time and understanding and realizing, like, for like specifically for like a lesbian couple, it took a little bit for my mom to realize that, like, no matter if it was a woman or a man, that woman is my partner,
Mhm.
that is my, like, that's my person. And realize that no matter what their gender is, like, they are they take care of me and they love me and I love them. And when you see that love, there's no questions after that. There's just understanding. So when it comes to pronouns, and it's when you love a person and you have that conversation, it's taking your own bias down and just listening to the person you love, listening with understanding and empathy. And then it may take a second, it may take a little bit, but I think it just takes a honest conversation.
Mm. I love that. What do you tell those who, they come out and their family aren't necessarily angry, but they're not really loving it? But what do you tell the person? Like, how can they sort of live with it in that moment? Can they journal? Can they? Because I can't
Yes.
imagine telling my family, hey, I'm a lesbian. And they're like, okay. And, because I want that respect. I
Mhm.
want that acceptance from my family. So while they're still trying to figure that out, what can I do to make myself feel accepted and loved?
So one, my therapist, thank God for her, okay? And two, journaling. There is so many different things that you can do to like throw your emotions onto something. Like personally, I like to paint. I like to journal. I like to write poetry. And it helped me get through those times. But I think that one thing that we have in the LGBTQIA plus is chosen family.
Mm,
And no matter what, you have a chosen family and you find the people who love and accept you. And even if that isn't your biologic family,
mhm.
you will always find your chosen family.
I love that.
So it's just because I have a chosen family and I love them very, very much. So, and without that, I,
Mhm,
it would be really hard to get through those times.
mhm,
So
mhm.
I think that, no matter what, you'll find family.
I love that. How do you find family? What was one of the ways? Because I think about people of all ages, of all however they identify, and they're like, okay, perfect, I can find my family. How do you find family? Is it like, is there something you can search on Instagram, Facebook? How do you find your community, your family?
So my personally chosen family, right, is mixed with so many different people. There is no, there's gay, there's straight, there is, it's just the people who love and accept you and care about you. That is your chosen family. That's who you find. They are the people who support you. That is the people who is your family. And
Mhm,
you lean on them when you need that time.
mhm,
And eventually, like when you get more into the community and you go to like more like say, I don't know, a gay bar or something. if but if you're of age. Um
what caveat? Don't try it and saying that Kate told you to go to the bar and you're 16. Don't try it.
like you go to areas that it's
Okay.
you find more of your community and you meet people around, but I didn't search for that
Okay.
personally. And like I searched for the things that were around me. I mean, there's some really cool stuff. There is specific LGBTQIA plus like softball teams.
Really?
There is like there's so many things where you can find community and you can find like the people who look like you and have the same dynamic as you.
Mhm,
But in my own perspective, I say that you will find the people that love and accept you, and you lean on them in those moments. Lean on your chosen family,
mhm.
and that will be the family that you'll have for like the rest of your life. I,
Yeah.
I truly believe that,
Oh my gosh,
100,000%.
I love that. I love that. Do you? I'm throwing these questions away because it don't even make sense. I mean, you are. Did you always know that you would want to help people and like, because you have a story? So, okay, let me ask this first question.
Yeah,
Did you always know you were a lesbian? Because that's what people usually. I'm gonna just throw it at what
yeah.
we say.
That is a yes for me, to be
Okay.
honest. I grew up very religious, like extremely religious. So you kind of have to like check your own homophobia
Mm,
too. Because like I would look at somebody else and like I would look at women in a different way and then I
mhm,
would shun myself because I'm like, I'm wrong. I'm terrible and I felt disgusted with myself.
mhm.
So there was a long time that I had to like it took a long time for me to really, oh God. You know what it was, Nan? I had to realize that oh God, it takes you back to those moments.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. And light switch when I realized that I thinking about I don't want to be 40 years old. And this was my mind in my early, like 25, 24, right? I was engaged to a man. And I remember thinking on repeat, on repeat, on repeat, and it wouldn't go away. I don't want to be 40 years old and divorced with kids because
Mm,
no matter what, I'm going to end up like coming out.
mm,
There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
mhm.
And I don't want to be divorced with kids and like continue to like live this lie.
Sure, sure.
And until and like when I fell in love with Jenna and I realized that like the love is so different and that's what it was supposed to feel like. It made everything and it
Phoenix
put
said
everything
that.
in perspective. Phoenix,
No, well,
calm
Phoenix is
down.
agreeing with you.
Yes. But honestly, it just put everything and I was like, oh, okay. There's
Mm,
no hiding. There's no hiding from it
mm,
anymore.
mm,
Because it's something you try to like push and push and push down because especially when you grow up in that type of like religious upbringing, it's you're just taught like you're like that is wrong, you don't do that. And so then when you have those own thoughts and those own feelings, like you're like, well, I got to get rid of this or else I'm going to go to hell and I don't want to do that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just kind of I had to go through all of those things to try to like go like wrap my mind around it. It was definitely difficult.
And I think this may be the last thing we touch on. I don't know because you keep bringing these gems. How do you push through the notion of religion? So, the same thing. I guess I was. I mean, I don't remember
Yeah.
my parents ever saying like, "Nia, don't be a like." I don't remember that, but to my friends who I did are in the group, they're like, "Yeah, well, it's kind of fearful." And the way that
Yeah.
I've always at least experienced or my personal relationship with God, with Christ, is that he loves everyone. Like when he died on the cross, he didn't say, well,
Yes.
you're lesbian, you're trans, you ugly, you get on my nerves,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
like, and do all that. It was for all. And the all
Yeah.
wasn't specified, all people. So it
Yeah.
blows my mind that whatever religion that you're in, it's like you're not loved because
Yeah.
this is how you identify. How did you finally say, like, okay, I'm a proud lesbian, but I love God too? How did that, how?
So, like you said, I was always taught that there is no errors. He made no mistakes, right?
Hmm.
I was born this way. This wasn't something that just
Okay,
like,
you know that?
yeah, like this isn't something just popped out of and be like, oh no, I'm gay now. I chose to be this way. No, this is something that it's just there, and um, that's how like, cause it's something like I just couldn't fight off anymore, and I couldn't like ignore it anymore, and I had to, once I understood that there was no running from it anymore, I had to realize that no matter what, that God would love me and that he didn't make a mistake when he made me. So I think that kind of helped me through that
I love that. I love that.
in my mind.
No, I mean, listen, I think we all have our personal opinions, but I agree with you. It will never cross my mind, or nobody can ever get into my mind that God doesn't like. And if you want to, because now I feel like I'm about to get West Philly, if you want to try to preach the Bible to me, you got to know words are lost in translation.
1946 to be specific. So in 1946 there was a mistranslation in the Bible when they it actually is like homophobe, like being a homo, like a homosexual,
Uh-huh.
it's supposed to be a pedophile. They missed the translation. Just saying. Put it out there.
Which is wild to me because I think in everybody's life, we can connect in that we may have not feel loved in or accepted or just whatever. And it's wild to me that there was so many people prior to this knowledge or did not know this knowledge and truly felt unloved. And people are saying, well, look at this, look at this, look at this. How about you mind your business?
Yeah.
Caitlin.
I agree. Because it's like, just let people be who they are. Just let people love who they love. And I would say, like, the emotional trauma that you go through when you are in a religious upbringing and you are gay, the things like your mind, it's like you're fighting itself. It's like, I feel these things, and then it's like, but that's disgusting, and you are gonna go and burn in hell. And like those are things that your mind just goes back and forth and back and forth, and you're like thought of to be like this wrong individual. No, it's I'm not wrong for loving who I love. I'm not wrong for it. Like it's like, imagine it being on the other end. You know what I mean? Imagine it being like, oh, you're with a man and you're a woman. That's gross. That's so disgusting. I can't believe that. Isn't it? It's so fascinating that if you think about it on the other shoe, how even like how a question like can be thrown around to everybody, and like there's random things on like on the internet where you're like someone's going up to people, oh, do you believe in gay marriage? And someone says no. Like imagine someone being like, do you believe in heterosexual marriage? I mean, come on.
What are we
Come
doing?
on.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Listen, I hear you. It's ridiculous.
Mhm.
Is there any way that this can change, like just through education, through advocacy? Is there any way that the experience that my friends have experienced, family members, is there any way that we can make it better for this generation and the future generation in coming out and
Yeah.
prevention?
Yeah, there is.
Tell us.
You know why? Progression.
Okay.
Progression. That's all right.
Mhm.
And you may not have somebody around you that is, and you don't understand it. Well, if you don't understand it, ask a question. Ask a question and in a respectful manner.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. If there's no way that education can be increased without those questions, respectful questions,
Mhm. Mhm.
and keep on asking them, keep on progressing, have a good understanding. And if you don't understand something, what do? You ask. You just ask.
It's simple. Once
It's
again,
simple.
she's teaching us it's simple.
It really is simple. And I think like the one thing about me and my wife is like we always like have a open, like we just have like a open communication, right? And with anybody. So if there's any questions, you just ask, and that's okay. And some people will be like, oh well, that's just prying. No, it's not prying. If you don't understand something, please ask me. Especially like, for instance, me and Jenna are going through IVF, right?
Mm.
So in that, there's always a lot of questions, and I applaud them, because without those questions, there is an understanding.
You are
So
amazing.
that's all you, girl. That's all you.
What did we say about this? If somebody, okay, and PSA, if somebody gives you a compliment, you don't have to go back and give them a compliment. You can say thank you. Sorry.
Ma'am.
Is there anything that you just want to say? You want to get off your heart? It's the heartbeat. What podcast is this? Humanitarian Heartbeat podcast. That you just want to get off your heart. You've always wanted to say. Is there anything that you can think of?
I think is just be kind. Just give grace and always meet somebody with kindness. And okay, I'll say one other thing. One thing that I do every day, and I know that you say I'm very bubbly and things like that, because I think positivity truly does promote a great environment. But the one thing that I try to do each day is I say 10 compliments to random strangers. And that is to promote that kindness, because you don't know what day somebody is having. And I try to do when it looks like someone's having a bad day. Just be kind. And be kind to your neighbors. Just like Mr. Robbins used to say. Was it Mr. Robbins? Was that his name? Oh gosh, what was his name?
Rogers?
Mr. Rogers!
You done gave this man a nickname.
Lord.
Like Mr. Robbins. Who was that?
Mr. Robbins. I meant Mr. Rogers.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Yes. Yeah.
It's okay.
Be the Mr. Rogers of the world.
And my final question, in the beginning, I asked you, who do you say you are? So my last question is, after everyone sees this, listens to it, who will we say that you are?
You'll say I'm just Kate. And and you'll say, that is my gay bestie right there.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being the first guest on the Humanitarian Heartbeat podcast. We love you. All we've learned that we just need to keep it simple, be kind, check your biases at the door. Don't nobody care about your opinion.
Nope.
And just be kind.
Yeah. Just be a nice individual.
Yeah. That's simple.
It's that simple. Just be all right. Well, everything will be fine.
Thank you so much, my love, my friend, the director of the LGBTQIA plus director, Byrd Cancer Education Advocacy Foundation, nurse extraordinaire, Jenna's wife.
Pipe me up.
There we go, the baddie. I appreciate you. And after everybody listens to this and sees this, they're going to appreciate you so much more. You're going to change the world, love.
That's all you, boo.
Didn't we just say about compliments?
Listen.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.
See you next episode.
See ya. You better tune in to the Humanitarian podcast. Change the world.